Today we're talking about The Long Goodbye from 1973.
I think it's 75. 73, you're right.
1973, adapted from the Raymond Chandler novel The Long Goodbye from like the 1930s. It's like a hard-boiled private detective, neo-noir film, right? Like that's what this is. But this takes place in the day in the 1970s in Los Angeles. It's a contemporary movie for its time. Now it's not contemporary,
really
but its own contemporary neo-noir detective film.
It feels like very much like, if this makes sense, the Under the Silver Lake of the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much like a noir of the time.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's very like 70s influence. I can see it being like very, very contemporary for its period.
Dude, for sure. It's like, but he does it in his own way, because the detective is like a laid back, chill detective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's
good at his job. He's really good at his job.
Yeah, he's kind of like, gets sucked into this thing that he never really asked to get sucked into.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of just, in the beginning of the movie, one night he's just like hanging out in his apartment, and he's got to go get some cat. He wakes up and like has to get some cat food for his cat. And he comes back, and his friend Terry Lennox is there.
Yeah.
And Terry Lennox is like, hey man, like, I need a favor. I need you to drive me to Tijuana. Like, I need to get away from my wife. Can you do this for me? And he's like, yeah, we're bros. Like, establish that they're like really good friends, and like, they've known each other for a long time, and they'll do like anything for each other. So Elliott Gould, who plays Philip Marlowe.
Yeah, Philip Marlowe.
Yeah, he plays a modern version of Philip Marlowe.
Yeah, Philip Marlowe.
Yeah, so Philip Marlowe takes Terry Lennox down to Tijuana,
mm-hmm.
and then he comes back, and when he comes back, like the cops are like looking for him in his apartment, and they're like asking him questions about his friend Terry Lennox, and he's like not giving him anything, and he's like, no, like I don't need to tell you anything, blah blah blah. And then they find an excuse to bring him in, and they basically tell him like, yeah, like you need to tell us where he is because he murdered his wife.
Dude, once they reveal that to him, because the whole time he's doing such a good job of just like bantering back with these cops, like he knows how this shit works, and so he's just like stalling, like fucking with them, and then they're like, well, his wife's dead. And he's like, I don't believe it. It's like, here are the pictures. He's like, I don't believe he killed his wife. Like, it's totally changes. Like,
good. Yeah, and basically he gets wrapped up in finding out like what happened with his friend and why. And he finds out that not only did he kill his wife, but then he also killed himself, which he doesn't believe at all. And basically he goes down this rabbit hole trying to find out like what happened to this dude. And he gets wrapped up with this guy's. He gets hired by this. He basically becomes famous from the newspaper. There's a newspaper article about him that
they're like PI, not cooperating.
Yeah. So like he gets his name out there, and like people want to work with him. And this woman from Malibu hires him to find her husband. And her husband is like some famous alcoholic writer guy that's like stuck in this sort of like this rehabilitation alternative medicine center that's sounds very like 60s 70s culty type shit that he's in.
Well, but it's also just like, mental asylum. Like it's an asylum. Like he can't leave. You know what I mean? Like
But it basically finds him the guy there who's played by Sterling Hayden.
Fucking amazing in this too.
Sterling Hayden's great, and when he goes and he takes him back to his wife, and he's obviously like an abusive drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, he kind of unravels what actually happened, because they're actually friends with the couple that was killed that he's finding.
Terry Lennox and Terry Lennox's wife.
Yeah. And he kind of finds out all this stuff of like what actually like happened and shit. Yeah. And then
it reveals itself, but not revealing itself in a pace where that's like controlling the narrative of the story. The narrative of the story is very much at its own pace. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. Like, the pacing's so separate, the revelations. It's like, you're along for the ride with Philip Marlowe. That's all you care about in this movie. This guy is so cool, and just, like, the whole vibe is so fun to just be a part of. That's really what makes this movie. And I can see why... my theory, and I haven't looked into this more, but, like, I think it's so obvious that Spike from Cowboy Bebop is totally based on Philip Marlowe, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Philip Marlowe's like so cool, level-headed. He's smoking in every scene.
Yeah, yeah. He's like hella chill and like the way he talks to people, and he's just like, oh, I'm just like here for the ride,
Yeah.
like, you know. But he's very smart though.
He's very smart, yeah.
And also, fucking Joaquin Phoenix in Inherent Vice is definitely based on this. Like this whole Inherent Vice is based on this like kind of laid back, chill detective in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And the whole scene where they get like that whole like the mental institute scene, that was definitely like Inherent Vice. Like all these kooky characters, and he's like this laid back, like he gets sucked into this thing that's like he never even asked to be sucked into. Yeah, he meets but
you haven't talked about
and Shane Black, the Nice Guys as well.
Oh, the Nice Guys. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Nice Guy. This is so based on this.
Yeah, but that's like based. This movie was made in the 70s, based in the 70s. Those movies are like based in the 70s, but they were made today. Yeah, you know what I mean. That's how fucking dope this movie is. Yeah, you know, I can always respect like a dope modern tale about like the time that we're in. You know what I'm saying? That becomes a classic.
Yeah, because he's paving the way. They're like imitating. You know. But you haven't talked about Augustine, the gangster in this movie.
Oh yeah, Terry Lennox that was a whole other thing.
He owes $350,000 to this Jewish gangster. Yeah. Who corners Philip Marlowe and eventually like is able to like kind of interrogate him, be like, I'm holding you accountable for this money that's missing, that's mine. Yeah. And he's like, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. I don't even know what kind of shit he was into. And he's like, no, you're gonna give me this money. Like I don't care what it is. And there's that amazing scene. Yeah. Where he sits his mistress down and he's like, you're my favorite, right? Like everything, I buy you everything you want. Like
you're the most important person in my life next to my family. Yeah. I love you the most.
And she's like, yeah, that's right, baby, yeah. And he's like, yeah. He just smashes her and like ruins her face.
Yeah, he smashes her with a Coke bottle.
Yeah, and he's like, if that's what I'll do to someone I love, what do you think I'll do to you?
Yeah, yeah. And he's like, do you got any Coke? So he's like, yeah, maybe. Like, and he's like, it's a little flat. And he's like, yeah. And he like drinks it and he fucking smashes her across the face. Yeah,
dude, so good.
I forgot about those scenes are good. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger is like has a really early.
Oh yeah.
Has a really early role. Yeah, as like one of his henchmen in it.
So early, dude.
And he's like tells all of them to take off their clothes.
Yeah, I feel like they found Arnold like halfway through production. They're like, this guy has to be in my movie. Like, look how fucking ripped he is. He's so young, dude. He's like 22. Looks like.
Yeah, and I kind of realized watching this again and then watching MASH and the players that they all have these themes of someone like kind of fighting against a systemic thing or like a distaste for authority. Like MASH, it's like the MASH unit has a distaste for like the military and their like control and the way they do things. And then this one is obviously about like the police department and the corruption that goes on with like, you know, like the police and politics and everything's like, you know,
the player. Even the player.
The player's about like the Hollywood. Like it's about like Hollywood and kind of like how it's like the control of Hollywood and like the way they make things and.
But I mean, like that's Altman to a T. Like he just has a problem with like authority. He doesn't want anyone to tell him what to do. He doesn't want anyone to have like a final say in anything he's doing. Like he trusts in his vision and he's so stubborn about that. Like you can totally tell that this is like shit he deals with in his real life, like with studios and executives and whatnot, that he's like fucking fed up and he writes movies like this about the system and fighting against it and shit.
Yeah. But next up we're gonna watch Nashville and we're gonna watch McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
The Long Goodbye, my favorite Altman movie.
Yeah, it might be. It's a really good. I recommend it.
And I think it's definitely
a great LA movie.
Yeah, it's definitely like of the time movie. There's some like things that would not fly today for sure. As an of the time movie, it still holds up. Just that final scene, just gonna stick with me.
What about like the movies that you've seen from Easy Riders, Raging Bulls? Like, where would you put this?
It's definitely up there. It's
being there.
I think it's better than MASH. Like, would they say it's better than like?
Do you think it's better than being
like
there?
Mean Streets or like Taxi Driver or like Raging Bulls? Probably not.
It's better than Mean Streets.
Yeah, maybe.
I 5-starred this on Letterboxd.
Yeah, I'd probably start it.
Yeah, I think Mean Streets have like 4 stars, but yeah, like this is definitely a great movie to watch, and it's just like really interesting dialogue, characters, and he is telling a detective story, but he like does it in his own way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I love the scene in the beginning where he's interrogating him. He's like, "Oh, is this like where you're gonna ask me like where I was, and I tell you like why you're asking, and like blah blah blah." Like it's like we've already seen that, but he's like reiterating it, like because we've already seen that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's like a deconstruction of that sort of that form.
He's the master at like deconstruction genre. He's so fucking good. Like there's something about Altman that's so intriguing.
Yeah, the most underrated in the new wave.
Yeah,
the most underrated director in the new wave.
He's such an asshole, for sure. But he makes some fucking really, really potent
And the way
movies.
it's shot is fucking amazing too, dude. Like, they don't shoot movies like that anymore.
Dude, I think the camera's never still. Like, it's always on a dolly. That's what Altman said.
But it's like nice wide, like you were talking about before, and like overlapping someone in the background and the foreground talking. Like, it's like so, like, they don't make shit, like, people don't shoot that shit anymore, bro.
Yeah. So fucking good.
Yeah.
And like, God, I love just the way it plays out too. The ending's so satisfying where it's just like no one fires a gun until the very end. And I'm like, did you just do that, dude?
Yeah,
but then like you're kinda like, yeah, he's not gonna stand for this shit.
Yeah,
he's been through the ringer because of this guy, you know?
Yeah, man. He's like, like no one got hurt except for me.
Yeah.
Even though he had nothing to do with anything that happened.
Yeah.
Like, it's dope. Yeah, I think Robert Altman is the most underrated director in the new wave. Probably also, like, Hal Ashby.
Dude, yeah, Hal Ashby too, yeah. Stepped over directors. I mean, they're both dead now, passed away, but...
They're both crazy dudes, but...
Yeah. But
definitely legendary.
Yeah, their movies, for the time, should definitely, like, be held to, like, a higher standard, because they're so fucking good.
Yeah, Robert Altman, guys. Check him out. Like, everyone knows Spielberg, Scorsese, George Lucas, Coppola, but, like, Robert Altman is definitely up there with those guys, for sure.
If we ranked,
but his name isn't, like, as well known like that.
I think we should rank, like, because we did the Film Brats ranking. I kind of want to, like, redo it now that I read Easy Riders. And, like,
well, it's not, the Film Brats ranking isn't new wave.
Not Film Brats, but
like
I would say, Hollywood. Like, new Hollywood directors,
We gotta watch more movies. We gotta watch more of those movies, though, dude.
Yeah,
like, before we do that, I think it's kind of a tall order, and like I don't want to fuck it up. Like,
yeah,
you know, like the Film Brats is like the film school brats. We're talking about more, but like new Hollywood ranking, we're gonna have to like go through the book and be like, okay, who do they talk about in this? Who do they talk about? Like, and kind of we gotta watch those movies. And I want to do it well, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to watch McCabe and Miss Miller in Nashville. So if you guys want to see that, make sure you subscribe and like the video. If you wanted us to talk about more new Hollywood movies, like the video and maybe actually comment like what you want us to talk about. Because
we'll watch it. We will.
Yeah, we'll talk. Yeah, we'll talk about more new Hollywood. So let us know.